Today, we're heading down to North Carolina, a state that has it all. Stunning mountain views, sandy beaches, fried food that could make your cardiologist cry, and sweet tea so strong it might be why ghosts stick around. Known as the Tar Heel State, North Carolina is famous for its rich history, warm southern charm, and of course college basketball rivalries intense enough to summon the dead. But beneath the picturesque landscapes and friendly "y'all come back now" smiles, there's a darker, more chilling side waiting to be uncovered. Did you know that North Carolina is home to more than just beautiful state parks and Outer Banks adventures? It's also crawling with ghost stories that'll have you second-guessing that weekend getaway. From haunted mansions and eerie lighthouses to a theater where spirits refuse to miss curtain call, this state's paranormal activity isn't just a rumor, it's practically a resident. If you thought the scariest thing about North Carolina was trying to pick a favorite barbecue style, think again. But don't worry, not every ghost here is out to haunt your dreams. Some just seem to be stuck replaying their lives like a spooky version of Groundhog Day, while others are just downright rude. So grab your flashlight and your sage, because we're about to take a haunted road trip across North Carolina. Whether you believe in ghosts or just love a good scare, these stories are guaranteed to make you think twice about that creaky floorboard, or at least give you a reason to keep the lights on. Let's jump into the most haunted places in the Tar Heel State. Welcome to Screamville. The Devil's Tramping Ground is a legendary spot located near Bear Creek in Chatham County, North Carolina. It's a 40-foot, 12-meter circular patch in the forest where, intriguingly, nothing grows. Local lore suggests that this barren circle serves as the nocturnal pacing ground for the devil himself, who plots his mischief while wearing down the path. Over the years, many have attempted to solve the mystery of this infertile patch. One tale speaks of an Indian chief named Croatan, who was killed and buried on the spot. The great spirits are said to keep the area barren in mourning for their fallen leader. Another story suggests that Native American tribes held ceremonial dances there, trampling the ground bare. Some have speculated that high salt levels in the soil might prevent plant growth. However, tests have shown that the salt content isn't sufficient to account for the barren circle. The site has become a popular camping spot for those intrigued by the legend. Visitors often report strange occurrences, such as objects left within the circle disappearing overnight, or dogs becoming agitated and refusing to enter the area. In popular culture, the Devil's Tramping Ground has been referenced in horror novels like Lost Souls and Drawing Blood by Poppy Z. Bright, where it contributes to the eerie atmosphere of the fictional North Carolina setting. The site is located near the Harper's Crossroads area in Bear Creek, North Carolina. Beware because it is on private property, so visitors are encouraged to respect the land and the legend. The demon dog of Val Crusis, North Carolina's very own fast and furious legend. Picture it. You're cruising up the mountain, admiring the scenic beauty of Val Crusis, when bam! Out of nowhere, this unholy pooch decides it's time for a game of high-speed fetch. And spoiler alert, you're the stick. The demon dog isn't your average mutt. Forget tennis balls and belly rubs. This beast prefers to chase unsuspecting drivers, keeping pace no matter how fast they step on the gas. Think your sports car can leave it in the dust? Think again. Witnesses claim this canine could probably lap a NASCAR track in under a minute. The legend centers around an old stone cemetery tucked away in the mountains of Val Crusis. Apparently, if you drive past the graveyard at night, the dog emerges from behind a headstone like a gothic jack-in-the-box. One moment, peaceful silence. The next, bam! You're in the middle of a supernatural drag race with Cujo's demonic cousin. According to those who've seen it, the demon dog is as scary as it gets. We're talking about a giant, shadowy hound with glowing eyes, likely LED, because why wouldn't a demon dog upgrade? Its teeth are reportedly yellow, though whether that's from a lack of brushing or just because it's horrifying remains unclear. Either way, it's the kind of smile you don't want to see in your rearview mirror. Some say it doesn't bark because barking is for regular dogs. Nope, this beast just growls. A deep, guttural rumble that seems to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Others swear it lets out an ear-piercing howl before vanishing into thin air once it's had its fun. Sitting in the rural heart of North Carolina, Bentonville Battlefield is the site of one of the last and largest battles of the Civil War. In March 1865, Union General William T. Sherman's forces clashed with Confederate General Joseph E. Johnston's troops in a three-day showdown. This epic face-off was part of Sherman's infamous March to the Sea campaign, leaving destruction and, evidently, ghosts in its wake. The battle was intense, involving over 80,000 soldiers. The Confederates were outnumbered, but determined to make a stand. Despite their bravery, they eventually retreated, leaving behind a trail of bloodshed and sorrow. The Bentonville Battlefield marked a turning point, as it was one of the final nails in the Confederate coffin before the Civil War ended a month later. After the battle, the area was turned into a makeshift hospital for wounded soldiers. The Harper family, whose house became the epicenter of medical care, saw their home transformed into a scene straight out of a horror movie. With surgeons hacking away at limbs and soldiers crying out in pain, it's no wonder the battlefield has a haunted reputation today. Now let's get to the spooky part. Bentonville Battlefield is said to be one of the most haunted places in North Carolina, and for good reason. Imagine spending eternity where you got your leg amputated by a guy who probably wasn't even a licensed doctor. That's enough to keep anyone's ghost lingering. Visitors have reported seeing shadowy figures in Confederate uniforms wandering the fields. These apparitions seem confused, possibly still trying to figure out why they're losing despite their best efforts. Late at night, people have claimed to hear the eerie sounds of cannons booming and soldiers shouting orders. Imagine walking your dog and suddenly being yelled at by a ghostly general for being out of formation. Inside the historic Harper House, ghostly patients are said to still occupy the rooms. Some visitors have reported seeing ghostly doctors and nurses moving about, while others have felt sudden cold chills, as if a spirit just walked through them to grab some spectral bandages. Stories persist of campfire lights flickering in the woods, only to vanish when approached. Is it ghostly soldiers gathering for a last meal, or are the raccoons really upping their game? The ghosts of Bentonville are not your typical horror movie spooks. They have personality. Take the ghostly cannon fire, for example. One local joked that the spirits are just trying to win the battle in their afterlife since they didn't quite pull it off the first time. Then there's the Harper House. If you visit and feel someone tap your shoulder, it might not be a friendly ghost. It could just be a spirit surgeon looking for his next patient. Pro tip, don't visit with a limp, or you might leave with fewer limbs than you came with. And the phantom soldiers? Let's hope they don't get the wrong idea and try to draft you into their eternal struggle. Imagine explaining that you're just here for a history tour, not to re-enlist in the Confederate Army. Paint Rock, located near Hot Springs, North Carolina, is a storied site along the Appalachian Trail with a fascinating blend of natural beauty and eerie folklore. This region, steeped in Native American history and Appalachian legend, has long captivated the imagination of locals and visitors alike. Paint Rock is named after its ancient rock art, believed to have been created by the Cherokee or their ancestors. These petroglyphs and pictographs were likely part of sacred rituals or markers for significant locations. The artwork, painted in red and other earth tones, stands as a testament to the cultural and spiritual importance of the area to the indigenous people. The springs near Paint Rock were considered sacred by the Cherokee, who believed in their healing properties. The waters were used for purification and ceremonies, adding to the area's mystical reputation. The most famous story tied to Paint Rock involves the legend of a Cherokee spirit or siren. According to folklore, men camping near the springs were awakened by an enchanting melody. Following the song, they were drawn to the water where they saw the reflection of a stunning Cherokee woman. Entranced by her beauty, they reached out only to be seized by an unseen force, perhaps the vengeful spirit of the water or a protective creature of Cherokee lore, and pulled beneath the surface to their deaths. This story has persisted for generations, warning hikers and campers to stay vigilant and avoid straying too close to the water. The legend plays into broader Appalachian and Native American themes where natural features like rivers and springs are imbued with spirits or guardians, sometimes malevolent. Many hikers and campers in the area report hearing faint singing or melodic hums, particularly at night, despite no one else being nearby. Some claim to see unusual shapes or faces in the water, especially during twilight or moonlit nights. The Cherokee legends surrounding spirits that guard sacred places contribute to the notion that Paint Rock is not just haunted but protected. Although largely anecdotal, stories circulate about individuals who went missing in the area, further feeding its eerie reputation. Today, Paint Rock attracts hikers, history enthusiasts, and paranormal investigators. Its location on the Appalachian Trail makes it a scenic yet chilling destination. Visitors are drawn to the combination of natural splendor and the spine-tingling allure of its haunted history. Whether you view Paint Rock as a place of historical significance, natural beauty, or supernatural danger, it remains a captivating location in the Appalachian landscape. Next up, welcome to Greensboro, North Carolina, home of Lydias Bridge, one of the spookiest spots in town and a local legend so iconic it deserves its own Netflix series. The tale of Lydias Bridge combines romance, tragedy, and a touch of ghostly mischief that keeps people coming back for more. Once upon a moonlit night, because isn't it always, Lydia, a young woman dressed to the nines after a dance, was heading home with her date. Let's imagine she was humming a 1920s jazz tune, dreaming of the Charleston or her next cup of punch, but tragedy struck when the car crashed on the bridge. Her date, bless his soul, didn't make it, leaving Lydia injured and alone. Lydia did what anyone in her situation would do. She tried to flag down help. Unfortunately, it was one of those nights when everyone decided that stopping for a panicked stranger on a dark bridge was a bad idea. Lydia's ghostly fate was sealed, and the legend was born. For years, people have reported seeing Lydia's spirit standing by the bridge, desperately waving for a ride. Think of her as the original ride-share app, except instead of charging a fee, she vanishes into thin air before you can leave a review. If you're lucky or unlucky, she might even accept your offer to take her home. Picture this: you're driving along, proud of your good deed, only for Lydia to pull a disappearing act Houdini would envy. When you knock on the door of her supposed house to explain the ghostly hitchhiker, her mom, or whoever lives there now, will calmly inform you, "Oh, that's just Lydia. She's been dead for decades. But thanks for trying." Honestly, Lydia's mom deserves a medal for nonchalant ghost parenting. Today, the original bridge is no longer in use, but that doesn't stop thrill seekers and paranormal enthusiasts from visiting. They show up with flashlights, EMF detectors, and presumably a playlist of spooky soundtracks. Some claim they feel a cold presence or hear footsteps. Others swear they've spotted a figure in a white dress lingering by the old structure. And let's be honest, Lydia is probably exhausted after decades of reenacting her tragic night. If ghosts had therapists, she'd be first in line. If you're in Greensboro and have a sense of adventure and maybe some ghost repellent, it's worth a visit. Who knows? Maybe you'll catch a glimpse of Lydia trying to flag down a ride, or maybe she'll hop in your car for a quick ghostly road trip. Just don't expect her to split the gas money. Ahoy, matey! Prepare to set sail for Ocracoke Island, North Carolina, where history and hauntings collide at Teach's Hole. A picturesque yet spine-chilling cove with a story that'll make you clutch your cutlass. The infamous pirate Blackbeard, or Edward Teach to the tax collector, met his untimely demise here in 1718. Spoiler alert, it involved swords, cannon fire, and a severed head. But don't worry, this isn't your average history lesson. Blackbeard wasn't just a pirate, he was the pirate with a flair for the dramatic. Picture a towering figure with a wild beard, often braided with fuses that he'd light during battle to give off that angry ghost on fire vibe. He roamed the seas, pillaging ships and making a name for himself as the guy you didn't want to see on your morning commute across the Atlantic. By late 1718, though, Blackbeard's pirating days were numbered. The Royal Navy, tired of his shenanigans, sent Lieutenant Robert Maynard to Ocracoke Island to put an end to his reign of terror. What followed was an epic showdown that would make a Pirates of the Caribbean scriptwriter jealous. Maynard's men ambushed Blackbeard and his crew in a bloody battle. Blackbeard fought valiantly, but after receiving 20 sword cuts and 5 gunshot wounds, he was finally defeated. To make sure the message was clear, Maynard chopped off Blackbeard's head and hung it from the bow of his ship like a grim hood ornament. Ghostly. Groaning and headhunting fast forward to the present day, and Teach's Hole is a serene spot where tourists flock to enjoy the scenery, or so they think. The cove is said to be haunted by Blackbeard himself, still searching for his missing noggin. Visitors often report hearing ghostly groans echoing across the water, which could be Blackbeard lamenting his lost head, or just someone who overdid it on fried seafood at lunch. There's also the occasional sighting of a shadowy figure wandering the shore. Local legend says that on stormy nights you can hear Blackbeard's voice booming, "Where's me head?" If you happen to find it, he'd probably be grateful or just really confused. Haunting a cove while looking for your decapitated head is a pretty unique retirement plan. But Blackbeard isn't your average ghost. Some say his spirit lingers as a warning to those who dare to cross him. Or maybe he's just bored after 300 years of wandering around headless. Teach's Hole isn't just a haunted hotspot. It's a slice of pirate history, complete with spooky vibes and picturesque views. Bring a flashlight, an adventurous spirit, and maybe a wig for Blackbeard, who knows? You might hear his legendary groans or catch a glimpse of his ghostly form, still looking for that one thing we all need: closure. So if you ever visit Ocracoke Island and feel a chill in the air, don't panic. It's probably just Blackbeard saying, "Ahoy!" Or maybe, seriously, where's me head? The Omni Grove Park Inn in Asheville, North Carolina is a historic and luxurious retreat that has hosted presidents, celebrities, and one particularly spirited guest, the Pink Lady. Since the 1920s, this charming ghost has been adding a splash of color and a dash of mischief to the inn's storied history. Let's dive into the tale of this friendly phantom, full of mystery, pranks, and just a hint of sass. The Pink Lady's origin story is a mix of tragedy and intrigue. Legend has it that she fell, or was perhaps pushed, from the 5th floor of the Palm Court atrium. Was it an accident, a broken heart, a sinister plot? No one knows for sure, but her spirit didn't check out after the incident. Instead, she decided to extend her stay indefinitely, perhaps enticed by the inn's stunning mountain views and excellent room service. She's known for her radiant pink glow, which guests have described as a misty haze floating through hallways, or as a young woman donning an elegant pink ball gown. Kids, with their knack for spotting things adults miss, are her most frequent witnesses. Some claim she's a benevolent presence, while others just think she's a fan of statement fashion. The Pink Lady isn't your average ghost, sulking in dark corners and whispering ominously. Oh no, she's here for fun. Guests often report lights flickering, air conditioners turning on and off, and their belongings getting mysteriously rearranged. She's probably just trying her hand at interior decorating. Don't be surprised if you find your toothbrush in the mini fridge or your shoes tied together in the closet. For the ultimate Pink Lady experience, book a stay in room 545. This room is her favorite haunt, pun absolutely intended. Guests have reported feeling a cool breeze or a light touch, only to turn around and find no one there. One brave soul even claimed to have heard giggling, because what's a ghost story without some good old-fashioned eerie laughter? Unlike some spirits who seem intent on scaring the daylights out of people, the Pink Lady is more about spreading goodwill. She's been known to comfort sick children and create a calming presence. Move over, Casper, she's the real friendly ghost. So, whether you're a skeptic or a believer, the Pink Lady makes the Omni Grove Park Inn a must-visit destination. Who wouldn't want to meet a ghost with a penchant for pink, a sense of humor, and an eye for redecorating? Just remember to pack your sense of adventure, and maybe an extra nightlight. The USS North Carolina, also known as the Showboat, might be retired from its days of active duty in World War II, but it's far from peaceful. Docked serenely in Wilmington, North Carolina, this battleship has swapped war zones for ghost zones, and it's still making waves, just of the supernatural kind. Commissioned in 1941, the USS North Carolina was a powerhouse during World War II, seeing action in the Pacific Theater and surviving multiple attacks. One of the most harrowing events was a torpedo strike that tragically killed several crew members. Among them, a young sailor reportedly met his untimely demise in the battleship's washroom. Imagine going out, not in a blaze of glory on the battlefield, but while answering nature's call. If there's any reason to haunt a place, that indignity would be it. But this sailor isn't pulling ghostly duty alone. The ship's narrow passageways, creaking floors, and shadowy nooks make it the perfect stomping ground for spectral sailors who may have grown a little too attached to their floating home. Visitors, staff, and paranormal investigators frequently report spotting shadowy figures wandering the corridors or peeking through portholes, as if on eternal watch duty. Of course, the washroom where the torpedo-stricken sailor met his end is a hotbed of activity. People report feeling cold drafts, hearing disembodied whispers, and catching glimpses of a figure in the corner of their eye. Imagine walking in to use the restroom and finding him standing there. Talk about a buzzkill. The ship's long, claustrophobic corridors are ideal for spooky encounters. Shadowy figures and the sounds of boots on metal have been reported even when no one is around. It's as if some of the sailors are stuck in an endless patrol loop. Who knew ghosting your duties could be this literal? Witnesses claim to see faces staring out of the ship's portholes, faces that don't belong to any living crew members. Either these ghosts really miss the open sea, or they're just nosy. The USS North Carolina is a prime example of a residual haunting where the high emotions and tragic events of the past leave an indelible mark on the environment. War is stressful enough without adding the fear of a torpedo strike, and the energy from such intense experiences may explain why the ship feels so crowded. Alternatively, maybe the ghosts just couldn't resist sticking around. After all, the battleship was nicknamed the Showboat, and who doesn't want to haunt a place with flair? The USS North Carolina is more than a historic relic. It's a maritime motel for wayward spirits. Whether it's the sailor who never got to leave the washroom or the shadowy figures endlessly wandering the halls, one thing's for sure, the ghosts on board know how to make an impression. If you ever visit, just remember to salute the shadows, knock before entering the washroom, and maybe bring an extra pair of pants, just in case. The Cape Hatteras Lighthouse in the Outer Banks, North Carolina, is renowned not only for being the tallest brick lighthouse in North America, but also for its mysterious and haunted history. The original Cape Hatteras Lighthouse was built in 1803 to guide ships away from the perilous Diamond Shoals, a series of sandbars off the coast that have earned the area the nickname Graveyard of the Atlantic. Recognizing the need for a lighthouse to guide sailors and reduce maritime losses, Alexander Hamilton played a crucial role in securing funds and prioritizing the construction of lighthouses. Hamilton's vision for a strong maritime economy depended on safe navigation. By supporting infrastructure like the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse, he helped create safer trade routes which were essential for the young nation's economy. Due to insufficient height and a weak light, it was replaced in 1870 with the current structure, which stands 208 feet tall. In 1999, the lighthouse was famously relocated about 2,900 feet inland to protect it from coastal erosion. This engineering feat sparked a resurgence of interest in its history and legends. The region's treacherous waters have claimed countless ships over the centuries, and many believe that the spirits of sailors lost at sea linger in the area. One of the most famous ghost stories tied to the Cape Hatteras area is the mystery of the Carol A. Deering. This schooner ran aground on Diamond Shoals in January 1921. When rescuers arrived, they found the ship eerily empty. The crew had vanished without a trace, and the ship's logs, navigation equipment, and personal belongings were missing. Strangely, food was found laid out in the galley as though a meal was about to be served. Theories about the ship's fate range from piracy to mutiny to supernatural interference. The unresolved mystery of the Deering adds a spectral presence to the already haunted reputation of the lighthouse. For over a century, visitors and staff have reported sightings of a large black and white cat in and around the lighthouse. Described as having an unusually striking appearance, the feline seems to appear and disappear inexplicably. Some believe this ghost cat is a guardian spirit or the lingering presence of a pet that once belonged to a keeper of the lighthouse. Witnesses have described feeling the cat brush against their legs or hearing faint meowing, even when no living cat is present. Lighthouse keepers who dedicated their lives to guiding ships to safety are also said to haunt the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse. Disembodied voices, shadowy figures, and the sounds of footsteps on the spiral staircase have all been reported. Visitors often feel an inexplicable sense of being watched or accompanied, especially at night. The Cape Hatteras area is steeped in maritime lore and ghostly sightings. From strange lights on the shore to the sounds of phantom ships crashing, many believe the spirits of shipwreck victims are restless in this area. The haunting of the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse can be attributed to its long and storied connection to tragedy and loss. With thousands of ships meeting their demise in the nearby waters and the mystery of the Carol A. Deering adding intrigue, it's no surprise that tales of the supernatural have become interwoven with the lighthouse's legacy. The relocation of the structure may have also disturbed lingering spirits, heightening paranormal activity. For those seeking a mix of history and mystery, the Cape Hatteras Lighthouse remains a captivating destination. Its towering presence serves as a reminder of both the peril and the resilience of the maritime history of the Outer Banks. Crybaby Lane is an eerie patch of deserted grass off Western Boulevard in Raleigh, shrouded in a sorrowful and chilling tale. The story dates back to the mid-20th century when the area was home to a Roman Catholic orphanage. This orphanage housed several dozen boys and girls, cared for by priests, continuing a tradition that had been in place since the early 1900s. The orphans likely lived as children of that era did, attending school to learn trades, enjoying weekly summer outings to swim at nearby Pullen Park, and for the older boys, preparing for the priesthood. While life in the orphanage may not have been entirely joyful, it provided stability and opportunities that might otherwise have been unavailable. Tragedy struck one night in 1958 when a devastating fire broke out in the dormitory. The blaze spread rapidly, and by the time the children awoke to the smoke and heat engulfing their home, it was too late to escape. Firefighters arrived to find the building reduced to smoldering ruins of charred beams and broken bricks. Many of the children tragically perished in the flames, leaving behind a haunting legacy that lingers to this day. Months after the fire, long after the remains of the orphanage had been cleared away and the land left to regrow, strange reports began surfacing. Neighbors complained of a persistent choking smell of smoke hanging in the air, as if the fire still smoldered. The odor was so strong that some claimed to feel as though their lungs were filling with smoke when they walked into the field. This happened despite fresh grass having already covered the site where the orphanage once stood. But the unsettling smell wasn't the only thing. Soon, voices began to echo in the air, soft at first, then growing louder. These weren't just any voices, they were the cries of children. Wailing in fear, sadness, and pain, the disembodied voices seemed to belong to the orphans who perished in the fire. Their anguished screams carried on the wind, as though their spirits were still trapped in the place they once called home. Some neighbors tried to rationalize it, believing the traumatic memories of the fire were playing tricks on their minds. Many had witnessed the tragedy firsthand and thought the sounds and smells were nothing more than echoes of their own haunted memories. Yet, as the years went by, the people who had been there that night either moved away or passed on, but the acrid smell of smoke lingered, and the cries of children continued. If you visit the site today, you'll notice that most of the houses near the field have been abandoned. The spot where the orphanage once stood is now an empty expanse of grass. Hidden among the overgrowth lies the cornerstone, the last tangible remnant of the ill-fated building. Stand in the field for a few minutes and you might notice a peculiar odor, smoke and charred wood. Stay a little longer and you may begin to hear faint, eerie sounds. The cries of children, lost and afraid, still echo through the air. They seem bound to this place, unable to leave the only home they ever knew. Few dare to linger for long in the desolate area now known as Crybaby Lane. The Biltmore Estate isn't just America's largest private residence. It's the Gilded Age's ultimate "look what I can build" flex. This 175,000 square foot mansion is like the love child of opulence and jaw-dropping architecture, smack dab in Asheville, North Carolina. George W. Vanderbilt first stumbled upon Asheville's charm in 1888 while gallivanting through the South. Smitten by the beauty of the Blue Ridge Mountains, he decided, why not buy 125,000 acres and build the fanciest retreat ever, as one does. Construction kicked off in 1889, and over the next 6 years, the rugged mountain landscape was transformed into an architectural marvel that could make even the fanciest castles in Europe a little jealous. But this wasn't just a weekend DIY project. Oh no. It took a small army of stonemasons, carpenters, and craftsmen, all of whom lived in their own pop-up village on site, complete with a brick factory, woodworking shop, and nursery. Talk about extreme home makeover, Vanderbilt edition. George Vanderbilt hitched his wagon to Edith Stuyvesant Dresser in 1898, officially turning the Biltmore Estate into a family affair. The Grand Halls got a new kind of buzz with the arrival of their daughter Cornelia in 1900. Unfortunately, George's chapter at Biltmore came to an abrupt end in 1914, when an emergency appendectomy took him out of the game. Edith, however, picked up the reins, running the estate with a mix of grace and grit. By 1930, she had even opened parts of the house to public tours, proving that when life hands you lemons, you turn your mansion into a lemonade stand, albeit a very fancy one. The estate's gardens, crafted by the legendary Frederick Law Olmsted, aka the guy behind New York Central Park, weren't just there to look pretty. They were a masterclass in landscaping, featuring formal gardens, water features, and woodland trails. Today, they're a living tribute to Olmsted's genius and Vanderbilt's impeccable taste. But not everything at Biltmore was picture perfect. The estate's grandeur masks a history peppered with tragedy and even a dash of the supernatural. Case in point, the drama at the Shiloh Gate in 1922. Security guard Walter Brooks found himself in a standoff with 5 young men, one of whom was out for revenge over his dog's untimely demise on the property. Things went sideways fast, and Brooks ended up shooting 3 of them, killing 2. A court sentenced him to 40 years of hard labor for second-degree murder after just 3 hours of deliberation. Even after George's death, his spirit seemed to linger, figuratively and, according to some, literally. Before his passing, he made it clear he wanted the estate preserved. Edith honored his wishes, and despite financial pressures during the Great Depression, the family opened the Biltmore to the public. What started as George's dream of a secluded paradise is now a bustling tourist hotspot, complete with ghost stories, stunning gardens, and a legacy of luxury that refuses to fade. Picture this. It's 1898, and the Biltmore Forestry School is a hub of knowledge, until 1913, when one building allegedly became the VIP lounge of shady dealings. Rumor has it that a woman met a grim fate at the hands of a client. Official records, nothing. Yet visitors today swear they've seen lights flicking on and off in empty windows and felt chilly vibes that even a summer heat wave couldn't melt. Spooky or just bad wiring, you decide. The Biltmore's infamous 70,000-gallon indoor pool. It had cutting-edge underwater lighting and heating, but forgot one crucial detail: a filtration system. Talk about a design flaw. Party chatter suggests a child tragically drowned here during a swanky soiree, though estate management firmly denies it. Still, the pool area has a vibe. Phantom splashes, ghostly giggles, and even a mystery woman in black. Who needs Netflix when your drain has a soundscape? Ever wanted to crash a Vanderbilt party? At Biltmore, you still can, sort of. Staff report hearing clinking glasses, orchestral music, and spirited chatter echoing through empty rooms. The grand staircase seems to be the runway for shadowy figures, abrupt cold drafts, and random whiffs of perfume. It's like Gatsby's Afterlife meets Scooby-Doo. Beneath the mansion's grand floors lies a spectral staff, still punching the ghostly time clock. Misty figures dart through the kitchen while similar shapes hang around the pool, as if they're still keeping the estate in tip-top shape, just in the afterlife. George Vanderbilt was a bookworm in life, and apparently in death too. Staff often spot his ghost lounging in a corner chair deep in thought, while whispers of conversations between George and Edith Vanderbilt drift through the empty room. Honestly, if you had a library that epic, wouldn't you haunt it too? The basement pool might be empty, but it's swimming with creepy energy. Visitors report feelings of nausea, shadowy apparitions, and those eerie phantom splashes. And let's not forget the laughter coming from the drain. Who knew drains could giggle? If cigar smoke in a non-smoking mansion isn't enough to rattle you, try this: random cold spots. 65 fireplaces be darned, and the occasional sighting of an orange, headless cat roaming the gardens. Who's a good boy? Not that ghost cat. The Biltmore Estate may be a paranormal hotspot, but it's also your ticket to Gilded Age luxury. From sipping award-winning wine in a renovated dairy barn to soaking up the grandeur of a 250-room mansion, it's an unforgettable experience. Keep your eyes peeled, though. Whether it's George flipping through books or Edith calling for him, the Vanderbilt spirits might just drop by to say hello. So, is the Biltmore a glamorous retreat or a ghostly hangout? Turns out, it's a little bit of both. Down in the servants' quarters, it's like a paranormal staff meeting is in session. Misty figures are spotted zipping between rooms and even through the kitchen, because ghostly chores apparently never end. Over in the pool area, similar apparitions hang out as if they're still making sure the water's ready for a 19th century pool party. Talk about commitment to the job. Sometimes 2 disembodied voices can be heard having a spirited conversation, presumably George and Edith. And yes, Edith's voice occasionally rings out across the shelves calling for her husband. Either she's looking for him or they're reenacting the world's most exclusive book club. Today, the Biltmore is a haven for history buffs, wine lovers, and anyone who enjoys the finer and ghostlier things in life. Guests can sample award-winning wines in what used to be a dairy barn, or stay at the estate's inn, where modern luxury meets historic charm. Of course, the crown jewel is the 250-room mansion, open for tours year-round. You'll see the Vanderbilt family's opulence firsthand, from their grand staircase to Frederick Law Olmsted's breathtaking gardens. At the Biltmore, the past doesn't just live on. It lingers, laughs, and occasionally leaves you wondering if that draft was just the wind. Thank you for joining me on this chilling journey through the most haunted places in North Carolina. From eerie tales of restless spirits to unexplained phenomena, it's clear that the Tar Heel State is brimming with ghostly mysteries waiting to be uncovered. But guess what? We're not done yet. There's so much more to explore, and I'm excited to dive even deeper in part 2. So stay tuned. You won't want to miss what's coming next. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more spine-tingling content, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. That way, you'll be the first to know when part 2 drops. And if you've had your own paranormal experience or live near one of the haunted spots we talked about, share your story in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for watching and being part of this ghostly adventure. Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and keep exploring the unknown. See you in part 2.